Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 weird things all teenagers do. At one point in our lives, we are all teenagers. Teenagers do some odd things because their minds and bodies are changing from that of a kid to an adult. And as a result, there are a few weird things that all teenagers do. Be sure to keep account of how many of these things you do or did. But first, leave a like and subscribe and comment I subscribed and I'll try to reply. Coming in at number 10, we have ignoring doorbells. We've all been there. The doorbell rings and you're the only one home. You could go and answer it, but you're busy doing other things or just can't be bothered. Most teenagers would rather continue playing Xbox or browsing Instagram than answer the door. Not only do you have to get up and open the door, but you also have to have small talk with a delivery guy or whoever it is. This can sometimes cause anxiety for some teens who are shy and don't like talking to strangers. And when their moms get home and ask if any packages were delivered, the answer is a big fat no, even if the doorbell may have rang. In a survey, 60% of teenagers said they didn't answer the doorbell. Is this the same for you? I'd say it's quite accurate for me. Unless I knew food was coming, then you have to answer the door. Next up is phases. It's not a phase, mom. Top 10 is my life. Okay, as a teenager, we all go through phases. They're usually associated with a type of music, fashion, or activity. Just walk around any high school and you'll see them. There's the emos and goths who color their hair black and listen to gothic music, the skater kids who love skating and a certain type of music and clothing, and the straight-edge kids who buckle down and do all of their schoolwork, and of course other groups like hippies and jocks. These phases may seem lame and cringy now, but they were your life back when you were a teen. I'm sure you remember your mom telling you you were going through a phase. You may not have believed her at the time, but once you find out who you really are when you're older, you can confirm that was just a phase. They may seem bad now, but they did help you find out what you really like and don't like and play a part in how you are now. 62% of teens say they went through one or more phases, with a surprising 40% saying they experienced 3 or more. Did you go through any phases as a teenager? And if so, how many? Next up is selfies. 20 years ago, you'd have to really think before snapping a photograph. That is because film cost money to develop and you didn't have unlimited amounts of space to keep your photos in. And if you wanted to take a photo with you in it, you'd either have to use a timer or ask someone else. But with the modern inventions of front-facing cameras and selfie sticks, that is a thing of the past. While people used to take photos of places and events, teenagers are now interested in a different subject: themselves. That's right, no matter what the view or subject is, teens now seem to feel the need to always be in their own images. This is partly due to oversharing, something a lot of teens do. That's right, it's not normal to post every single sandwich you eat and every single time you go to the bathroom. This mentality has even led to some inappropriate selfies, whether it's with ill relatives in the background or if you've just had a surprising plane landing in the ocean. 90% of teens say they take selfies a lot. Is this the same for you? And if so, think back, have you ever taken any inappropriate selfies? Be honest. Coming up next is stealing drinks. Teenagers are at an age where they want to experiment with new things, and one of those things is often drinking. In most countries, you have to be 18 to buy drinks, or 21 if you're in America. So a lot of teens end up taking their parents' drinks instead, whether it's one of dad's beers, granddad's flask, or mum's wine. Teens do this to try new things out or use them with friends. Also, teens are often very susceptible to peer pressure. This means that sometimes even if teens don't want to steal their parents' drinks or drink some their friends stole, they do it anyway. This can be dangerous if teens aren't educated about this, but if they are, it can be harmless to try it out and form their own opinions. 54% of teens say they have done this or plan to do it. Did you ever do this? And if you did you get caught? I would say leave a comment, but you might want to keep this anonymous, you know, just in case. Next up is internet challenges. We've all seen them. It started with the cinnamon challenge, but it now seems like a new teen trend internet challenge appears every week, and they're becoming riskier and riskier by the day. Whether it's the salt and ice challenge or the playing chicken with train challenge. These challenges may seem cool and extreme in the moment, but we can all agree that these are really dumb. And some teams have sadly passed away due to these insane internet challenges. So to any pre-teens watching this, don't try these out. It's not worth the 5 seconds of fame. 59% of teens say they have done an internet challenge before. Hopefully they didn't do one as stupid as some of the challenges we've talked about in this video, but if they did, I sure hope they recorded it. Next up is anger. One thing teens are infamous for is their hormones, and a product of hormones is emotions. Very volatile emotions, that is. Teenagers can go from being happy one second to being angry the next. This means it's not uncommon for them to lash out and scream they hate their parents. Really, this is just their hormones coming into play, but it can still have some negative effects and make teens feel bad. So parents, don't worry if your teens lash out and seem a little nasty. It's just science taking place and they will get over it. These mood swings happen to most teenagers. This is heightened as teens are changing, which can make them confused. Also, sometimes life sucks as a teenager. You're in school with nasty people sometimes and unforgiving teachers. Sometimes school and life can seem pointless to teens, causing them to be disillusioned and fed up. We can all relate, and if you're a parent, think back. I'm sure you weren't always smiling as a teen. Next up we have mess. This is one teenage habit that sometimes sneaks into adulthood. Making a mess is something teens are known for, and some teenage boys' bedrooms are places you'd want to avoid going. Teenage girls can also be guilty of this, with clothing and makeup everywhere, not to mention hairbands being left on every floor. This drives parents crazy and is the #1 reason for family arguments. Sure, some teens are neat freaks who don't stand for any mess, but in a survey 70% of teenagers said they get yelled at for having a messy room, or worse, messing up the entire house. If this is you, then put away that plate and put those old t-shirts in the wash. It may seem like a huge amount of effort is needed, but it can help you. Some psychologists say that living in mess can make you lazy and feel bad. So tidy up your room and live a better life. It's not that hard and could make your parents' life a lot easier. Next up is not answering the phone. This is very similar to not answering the doorbell. We've all had a phone call before and totally ignored it. And the same is true for calls on our own cell phones. In a world where we use texts and social media where you can choose when or if you want to respond, phone calls are hardly a popular option. This is why a lot of the time if you call a teenager, they're not picking up. Also, it can be annoying to get into a long conversation when you're doing something else like watching Netflix. And some teens say they feel anxious about answering phone calls because sometimes hormones can make teens shy. So maybe try texting a teenager instead of calling them. The success rate of getting through to them will likely be far greater. Unless they're avoiding you, then there's no chance. 68% of teens say they don't pick up the phone for one of these reasons. Do you pick up the phone or do you let it ring? For me, it depends on who's calling. Next up we have overreacting. As we mentioned before, teenagers have a lot of hormones, and one result of this is sometimes going a bit over the top. Also, many teens haven't really yet experienced life outside their school or neighborhood. This means that the slightest thing like wearing the same dress as someone else to prom or getting the wrong color phone for Christmas can be a huge deal. We all know it's not, and in hindsight, any teens also know it's not either. But in the moment, it can seem like a biggie. Most teens say they have overreacted to something small. Once they're older and get out into the world, they realize that stuff doesn't matter. But you can't blame teenagers for their overreactions. Blame hormones instead. Scientifically, there's no way to get around it. But one thing some gurus tell teens to do is think of all the good stuff they have. Because compared to somebody else in the world, you likely have it good. While you might be freaking out over having the same dress as your friend, some kids around the world can't afford clothing at all. And while getting a black iPhone instead of a white one may seem like a hardship, some people still use flip phones. Oh, the horror! Next up is odd diets. One thing a lot of teens do is diet. This is especially prominent among teenage girls. But these aren't just regular diets where you eat healthier. They're usually odd, trendy diets that seem bizarre. These diet fads come and go for different generations of teens. Anyone remember the baby food diet where all you eat is baby food? Or maybe the lemonade diet where you only drink lemonade? These questionable diets spread around social media before they go viral. Then every teenager appears to be trying them out. These diets are now trending more and more, especially with all the body image issues that teens of today face. The best advice is to stay healthy by eating right and exercising. There's no other way around it, although that lemonade diet doesn't sound half bad. Have you ever done one of these weird diets? Personally, I haven't, and I'm glad. Some of these diets do not look good. Some say these diets work really well, but actually most of them don't work at all. In fact, the baby food diet has been proven to not actually be good for you. Check out the poll in the top right corner and you can vote for the thing you did or do as a teen. For me, I think it's not answering the phone because sometimes you just don't want to get stuck in a huge conversation, am I right? Be sure to tally up how many of these things you do or did as a teenager. Either comment your number down below or let me know on Twitter, Snapchat or Instagram and I'll try to get back to you. And remember, be honest in case that number is higher than you expected. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.